Oh, I lost you. Yeah, I can't hear you. I lost
Oh,
you.
wait, why am I?
There you are.
I'm so muted. Okay, check this out, y'all. I put a new scene in here, and that's what just messed me up, Stephanie. I'm getting ready to get to her. The person that you come in to see is going to pop up in just a second, okay? So I wanted to go ahead and make sure to introduce this right and tell you there's a brand new book release that's coming, and it is tomorrow. And so, because of this, I shouldn't still be muted. Am I still muted? I don't think I am.
No, you're good. There's a
Because
delay.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a delay. Because of this, I wanted to make sure to bring on Stephanie Garcia, who is one of the co authors of this amazing book. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Influencer Marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her up instead of doing my normal stuff. My normal stuff is extra, but I think she and I together are going to be extra enough. So here we go. Stephanie. Oh my God.
We're here.
Yes.
We made it. We made it. We made it. We're here. We're here. We're here.
We made it. We made it. Now, look, y'all, I'm trying something a little bit different just in honor of Stephanie because of who she is and because her book is on Amazon. So I'm attempting to go live on Amazon too. If there are folks on Amazon, I want to wish you a hello. You're here from YouTube, if you're here from LinkedIn, if you're here from Facebook or any of the channels, we just want to say hello to you and welcome. This is not my normal show. Normally, I do something called Stream Like a Boss TV, and that's our show that we do on Thursdays. But again, because we have our very special guest, Stephanie, and as I shared with you, she has a brand new book that's coming out tomorrow. I could not be remiss in making sure that we got this thing out in front of you before the book goes live. Because, hey, if they get sold out, don't say I didn't tell you.
Yeah, I
Welcome,
was already looking
Stephanie.
at the shipping times, and I was like, dang. I think it was like coming out on May 13th, and then I was like, wow, that's moving so fast. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been
It's
fun.
coming quick. I'm going to pop some comments up because there's a lot of people commenting in the chat. Let's see what we got here. Awesome. So James Hicks said, I got here on time.
Oh, look at that. Look at you, friend. Always nice to see you.
And John was trying to tell me I was muted, by the way, which I know. I know.
Yeah.
Scott Benedict, look, Richard Shields up in the house. What's up? What's
Look
up?
at
What's
you. You
up? I
made
love it.
it.
Scott Benedict. We got all the power hitters are in the house right now. Cast ahead, Chris Stone, who's going to be on the show on Thursday. Yes. Yes, he is. Jose, what's up? What's up? What's up, y'all?
Puerto Rico.
All right. Look, I need to have like a song or something that plays or a
Sound
sound.
effect.
Definitely need an effect for that. So, Stephanie, look, we're just chatting. I just want to know a little bit about this book here because I've started reading it. I haven't read it all the way through yet because it's
There's
so
a lot in
juicy.
there, isn't there?
So many nuggets in this thing. So, the first question I have to ask is why? Like, why did you think this was the right time and why influencer marketing?
Mm. I love this conversation about influencer marketing because oftentimes people think that to be an influencer, you have to be a mega influencer. Like you need to be the YouTuber that has like the Mr. Beast budget and all these different things. But let's be honest, there are influencers that are out there that are just like me, where it's like 1 to 10,000 followers. We're nano influencers, and yet we are headlining and we are a namesake within our industries, and we're able to influence people and their decisions. And so I wanted to be a part of this book just to really talk about like what are agencies and brands looking for specifically when they're looking to work with an influencer. I also wanted to make the distinction that not every influencer is a content creator
Mm.
and not every content creator is an influencer. So drawing the line in that, I also wanted to let people know that you could be a B2B influencer. Like you don't have to be like a makeup brand, a beauty brand, a tech head, and all that other stuff. Like you could be an influencer within your B2B industry about SaaS or whatever it is that you want and still make an impact. Whether you wanted to make this full time, whether you wanted to make this passive income, there's so many different things that you can do. And just, if you wanted to launch your own influencer campaign, how do you get started? So much.
Mm. There's a lot in there. And here's one thing I need to do is back up a little bit because I didn't ask this question. So there are people that are watching that may wonder, what is the definition of an influencer? What does that even mean?
I love this. I would say that the definition of an influencer is anyone that has an influence on someone else. Now, I'm not talking about followers. I'm not talking about subscribers. I'm talking about when you wake up in the morning and you text someone and you say, "Good morning, how was your day? I hope you slept very well." You are still influencing that person. Do you realize that? Even if it's just conversational, we all have the power to influence others. It's just that now there is an industry around it. And if you wanted to build a living off of it, you absolutely can. And so it's a matter of how do you want to go about that? Who do you want to work with? A lot of it sometimes is understanding what do you stand for, right? Authenticity. What kind of brands do you want to work with? What's your niche? Who's your target audience? And we talk a lot about that in the book, whether you're a brand wanting to work with an influencer or you're an influencer trying to find a brand that fits in with your target demographic.
So when I think about influencer, to your point that you made earlier, I initially, because I've been doing coaching for 20 something years, but only really been in the video space for a few years. And so when I first came into this space, Stephanie, one of the things that I recognized is that there were people who were working with brands who had sponsorships and deals and all that stuff. And I thought, wow, that seems like that's really far away. You mentioned a term called nano influencers.
Yes,
And that wasn't a term I heard back then. And I kind of felt like, well, that's something I have to aspire to in 10, 20 years if I'm still around, right? So, can we talk a little bit about the shift from, say, 5 years ago to now? What's the difference when it comes to this whole influencer marketing thing?
absolutely. So back in the day when we had celebrity endorsements, right? Like this is when you would have like Michael Jackson like selling out stadiums, promoting certain brands, even like let's say Britney and just like, hey, it's Pepsi versus Cola, but you had like a celebrity endorsement around it. Then it went over into your mega influencers. And I would have to say something along the lines of like, your Kardashians and this and that. And then all of a sudden it had like this negative connotation that you had to be this fake person or you had to have millions and millions of followers or subscribers. And so then it felt unattainable. What I would say is that many brands still wanted to work with influencers because they thought that, well, if I pay this influencer, all of a sudden we're going to get all the sales and all the different things. And then they started to realize, wait, what does this influencer actually stand for? Right? Because we've seen a couple of influencers where they've fallen from grace and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't really know all this stuff about them. And then some brands were even just saying, from our case studies, we offered this influencer this much part of our budget, and it would take like 80% of their budget, and they didn't really see an ROI. And so that's where we're now seeing the shift of brands wanting to work with nano influencers. And so when I say this, mega influencers on average probably get like an engagement rate of like 1 to 2% on any of like their social media posts, their YouTube, things of that sort. However, if you were to work with a nano influencer is anywhere from like 1,000 to 10,000 followers on any platform. They usually get anywhere from 3 to 4% engagement. So that's like way up there
Hmm.
as far as working with a mega influencer. Not only that, though, but it had to have been like 3 years ago when all the bots started to come out. Now you're starting to see these influencers buy followers. And then these brands and agencies didn't know how to distinguish who had fake followers and who has real followers, right? And there are tools that are out there. We talk about it in the book. There's this one tool called Saral, Saral, and it's crazy. Like I went to a couple of people's Instagrams. I was like, oh, this person has fake followers.
What?
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, wait a second. And they think that people don't know because, like even on Instagram, you could hide your likes, right? It'll just say
Yep.
like so and so likes it and others. But this tool will pretty much unveil who are all the bots what their engagement rate is, and based off of their engagement rate, what would be a reasonable fee if you were to hire them. And I think if you were a content creator and influencer, you would want to know. You would
Yeah.
want to know that, right? And then B, also, like, don't compare yourself to other quote unquote influencers that are out there because they may just be bought. I think the best thing that you could do is really come to the table and still show how engaged your community is. I mean, like, look at this. You got like Jose, you've got John, millions in the comments. You have real engagement. These are real
Yeah.
people, right? It's not like an AI generated headshot.
Yeah.
But these are real
Exactly.
people within your community. And there are some influencers that are out there, and I know this even from a live shopping perspective where I've had influencers lead like a live shopping segment, and then they don't make any sales. And it's really the nano influencers, and this is kind of like me pushing all of you, like, you have an opportunity. If anything, I think more brands and agencies want to work with nano influencers versus the ones that has like thousands upon thousands of influencers.
That's really interesting, and it's to me it feels like there's definitely a shift. I'm going to pop up a couple of comments here because I think these are cool. Look, y'all, this is your chance to ask questions. I'm getting ready to dive a little bit into the book in a second, but Richard, of course, is giving you a thumbs up.
Yay! I hope I see you
Jillian,
at Creator Camp. Hey, look at my
let's
sis.
go. Jillian, you are also beautiful and gifted. The one thing I have going for me is that I'm a real person. Yeah, you got more, John. You got more than that, way more than that. I got some questions about the book.
Let's do it.
So, first of all, I have a question that says, look, and I'm going to stick to some of the questions, but then some, I'm going to veer off some. I'm just giving you a warning.
Go
I'm
for it.
giving you
Go
a
for
warning
it.
ahead of time. Okay, so people who are hesitant about influencer marketing, what is one compelling argument from your book that might change their perspective? Because I know we just heard you say, hey, you could be, this could be you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what would change? I know there's some people just like John who are saying, yeah, I don't have much going for me. I'm real, but, and I'm consistent and I get out there and I do live streams. But what would attract a nano, or not a nano influencer? What would make me a nano influencer that is appealing to someone to partner with?
Oh, if you are a nano influencer and you want to attract brands for sponsorships and things of that sort, what would make you very appealing is if you have your own email list. So write that down. If you have your own community, so whether you're building it on things like school, Heartbeat, what do you have right now? What are you working on right now?
I use Heartbeat.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So if you are able to show that you have a community, then brands and agencies are going to be more likely to want to work with you because they also know that if I were to work with an influencer, but they're posting to like Facebook or on TikTok or on LinkedIn, that content is going to be hidden behind an algorithm,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you own your community, you own your own platform, it's much more niche and it's community led, they're more likely going to want to work with you and it's going to be a long-term strategic partnership. Yeah, it's not like a one flash in the pan where it goes away. It's very much you need to own your community. So if you're a nano influencer, maybe you have like, maybe like 100 or a couple hundred people in your group, that still counts because the engagement is so much more higher.
I hadn't even thought of that. Having your
Oh,
own community outside of social platforms, it makes total sense. But I think a lot of people have talked about, at least previously, building in Facebook groups and that type of thing. Is a Facebook group, does that count or is that still behind that
that
algorithm
veil.
wall?
I would say a Facebook group still counts, but brands are still noticeable of the fact that you're still privy to like the algorithms and whatnot. Thank you. A bunch of pancakes. It's my little one.
Is that
It
Emma?
is, Emma. Yeah. Thank you. I'll try it later. Thank you.
I
She
love
makes these
it.
little pop and cooking things.
Love it. Love it. Hi, Emma. Yeah, here's what Chris Stone says, and he's in agreement. It sounds like there's power off of the rented land of social media. Preach. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And John says it's tricky because it could go away.
Yes.
It's true.
And it is a place People hang out organically, and there is a way to put paid media behind sponsored posts and all that other stuff. But brands and agencies are starting to get really privy to the fact that the second I give this platform money, they're going to want more. Like
Yeah.
I've even seen it with content creators on TikTok where they've noticed like, hey, TikTok gave me like free money to boost this post, but the second I did that, after it ran out of money, every post afterwards got throttled. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, that's what happens.
Yep. Yep. So building your own email list is what I heard, and then also making sure you have built or you're starting to build. If you're intending to become a nano influencer, it's a good idea to start looking at how to build community off of socials. I think that's super smart. What are some other things, if there were a sneak peek into a surprising insight from the influencer marketing book that readers could expect? What's one surprising insight that maybe most people wouldn't know?
I would say a surprising insight that most people don't know when it comes to influencer marketing is that brands are looking at the return on investment. So even if you did throw around your weight saying, well, this is how many followers I have, there's an exact spreadsheet that's in that book where they could calculate and they say, okay, so if this is your followership and you're saying that you have on average 2% engagement rate, they will calculate that out. And now in your contract, they'll say specifically, so these are our expectations. So
Mm,
now it kind of puts it on you as the owner of like, of the influencer of can you actually deliver, right? In the past, influencer marketing used to just be like that experimental budget that you just throw out there.
yep.
But now they're counting. They're counting and they're looking for checks and balances. And so I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration. They just figure, hey, once I reach, let's say, 10,000 followers, I should be able to demand this and that. It's like, no, not really, because there are other people that want to take your place.
That makes total sense. And honestly, one of the things that I'm wondering about in terms of the numbers, and it makes, oh, let me pull this up because this is interesting.
You got good questions. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. If anybody has questions or thoughts on what's being said, definitely pop them up so that we can put them up. I was denied a campaign because I didn't have a community other than my Facebook group last year.
Yeah.
So that just proved what you said, right?
If
Um,
you have your community is your immunity in that sense, the fact that you can motivate people to take action, that's the biggest thing. Because we've seen the rise of bots,
yeah.
right? Like you go to someone's let's say Instagram, right? Because it's a perfect example. You go to someone's Instagram and all the comments are just fire emojis,
I
right?
know,
You
right?
know that okay, you could easily pay for that. And I've been to conferences where I've bumped into people who are like, oh, I'm an Instagram coach, and like they'll have 250,000 followers, and you're like, great. And the second I go into the comments and it's fire emojis, I'm like, I know what you're doing.
Yep.
I could easily go to a website called socialblade.com and see when you started running ads. I could see when you did this or you did that. If I said, like, okay, start a conversation right now, like I've literally pulled someone aside, like, just start a conversation with this person and see if they actually know you. They don't respond. Like, literally, if I went into my DMs and I was like, oh, this is Doc Rock, I know Doc Rock, right?
Right.
Right? He would
Right.
respond back with a meme. I'm like, yeah, I actually know him. Whereas some people, where I've done that with them at conferences, I'm like, I don't think they actually really know you or
So
that this is actually a
basically,
person.
what you're saying is that we're done with the age of people faking it because
Very much
they're
so.
we're looking at metrics, we're looking at numbers. We have apps. There's an app for everything. So there's an app that can tell whether or not you're faking it or not. So I think to me this is actually encouraging because it felt like I don't want to say competing. I always feel like I compete against myself, but you are in this whole marketplace and in this space where there's so many people that have a different look or appeal, and it's not always reality.
No. And we're also in that world of deep fakes now, right? Now you see all these different AI companies where it's like, hey, you could clone yourself.
Yeah.
And I get it, like you want to have content everywhere, but we're also it's kind of like that BS radar.
Yeah.
Remember like when banner ads came out and then all of a sudden when we're reading something on a website, we're like, ignore, ignore, ignore.
Yep.
Now it's really easy to see if someone is talking and if their audio and their lips aren't matching up at the same time, you're like, oh, that's fake. It's it's something that's unconscious and it comes across really quickly and we just like make it disappear. And I think oftentimes when you have a community, they follow you, right? So they know if you're just switching teams or not, right? Or if this is really something that you've grown and evolved with, and there's a real reason why you switched from one brand to another. It's just really interesting to see how the influencer marketing has shifted, has changed, and it's
Hmm.
across all platforms and all demographics.
Can we talk about that switching thing? What happens when you do? You're like on team A. I'm not even going to
Yeah.
name a particular brand. You're on team A, and somehow things go awry and it's just not quite working, and maybe a few months later you're now on team B. Is that is that something that could be deemed to be a negative on you, or what, as an influencer, nano influencer, what do we need to watch for? And do you talk about this in the book?
We don't talk about it much in the book, except along the lines of transparency and authenticity. Like basically, your audience will be able to smoke out whether you're telling the truth or it's straight BS, right?
Mm.
And when you're walking that fine line, they could tell whether or not you're just jumping teams because someone is throwing more money at you versus do you really care about the consumer, right? And I feel like oftentimes, even with you and I as content creators, we can easily talk about the pros and cons of a SaaS solution, right? I'd be like, okay, if I ever had to, I could use this, but probably in this situation. You could
Mm-hmm.
tell if someone is just blowing smoke if they're like, oh, I would never, it would never work. And you're like, do you really know though? Can you think about it in different situations and different scenarios? Because I could say, maybe as a lawyer, this would make sense. Like this platform would make sense because they have a better privacy policy and it's the ease of use and functionality. Whereas, like, this one might be a little bit more harder because you really have to customize it and whatnot. So there's a lot that you have to take into consideration when you're a nano influencer and when you're trying to promote a product or a service.
If you could offer a teaser, because I know we want people to get the book, like pick up the book because it's out tomorrow, y'all. It's out tomorrow on Amazon, and it's called The Ultimate. I needed to type that in. I will do that. The Ultimate Guide to Influencer Marketing. You cannot miss it. You talked about templates for analyzing campaigns and campaign results and ROI. How do these things simplify the process for us? Should we be using, and there's a question in the chat that I'm going to pull up in a second. Is there a, should we be using those templates up front to figure out what we can offer and use that as part of our pitch? Or how do we work that from our end?
I would say, as an influencer, first off, if I was an influencer and I wanted to work with a particular brand, the first thing that I would do is I would see if they're already running ads. So, anytime, Tanya, when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I get an ad for X, I screenshot it because the next thing that I do is I pitch them the next day and I say, hey, I was just served your ad. Obviously, I'm the target demographic that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And as a content creator, as a nano influencer, this is what I could offer. And then I say, like, these are the things, or hey, I'm working on a show, I'm working on a book launch. And then that opens the door because they realize, oh, this could be a longer term partnership versus me waiting for random clicks and all this other stuff. So that's like insider. I didn't even put that in the book there. There's a lot more of that though in the book where I'm just like, if you really want to get in front of a brand, this is what you should do. And a lot of the people that I interview in the book will tell you specifically of the types of personalities that they like to work with as far as influencers. So
Who are some of
oftentimes
the
they're
names
looking,
of the people that you mentioned in the book?
oh gosh, I'll tell you some of my favorites. So there's Indra Gardner Bowers, and she is one of the founders for 62 and Above. It's an agency here in San Diego. Not this many people know this though, but I worked with Indra as a social media director. And so we did a lot of influencer marketing campaigns in hospitality and tourism. And I sat down with her and I was like, okay, tell me what you look for influencers in the travel and hospitality. And she's like, we're really looking for people that want to be long-term players that are nice, right? That are data driven and all these different things. And it was so fascinating to me that if they get a whiff that someone is just, what's the word? If they come off as entitled, you are
Mm.
blacklisted. Like there's a blacklist.
For
There's
influencers,
a,
really?
there's a list of just like agencies will talk to each other and just be like, maybe you shouldn't work with this person because they come off as very, they want this and this and this, and like between you, me, the Wi-Fi, and everyone else that's watching in real time. Even Katie and I, when we're looking at Leap into Live, there are some speakers where I was like, I tried talking to this person, but this person just like would just send me over to like a VA, and I was like, and I actually know this person. I was like, what happened there? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Wow. Blacklist. Let me pull up some comments. And I'm not asking who's on the blacklist, but I think that is very interesting. And you know what? It just speaks to being who you are all the time. Like, not just because you want something, but being who you are all the time. So there was a question that popped up. I want to go back to this. What kind of tools do you use for tracking?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So UTM parameters are always very helpful. Most brands will always use that, especially if it's going to be an e-commerce brand. Oftentimes, if they're working with influencers, they may just give you a specific discount code or a promo code that you use. Like, let's say for Elgato, for example, I have my own distinct promo code for that. And I'm able to keep track of when I use that. Or it kind of even also ties into affiliate marketing, because I know that you're a big fan of Cast Magic too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And even though they call it affiliate marketing, you still have to have influence. And so, even though they've kind of partitioned it out as influencer marketing and affiliate marketing, influence is still a part of that equation.
Okay. Awesome. Let me see what else we got in here. So there she is. I see Sue Ann in here. Right Mix for Business by Sue Ann. Said it's interesting. Okay, here's a question from John. Or is this a question? Maybe a thought. I worry that there are some super nuanced, balanced, thoughtful people who will sell out their entire credibility for a 30-second ad read and a little bit of affiliate sales.
That
Yeah.
tends to happen. You could see people do that. I mean, even now on YouTube, I'll see like some big content creators where they'll say like, "Hey, I canceled this many sponsorships because it just wasn't aligned with my schedule, and it would have been like really stressful and all the things." But look at you, Portia. Thank you.
I know. She bought the book. I wanted to make sure you saw that. And she said, that's some gold on how to get that meeting. She said, thank you for that tip. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much that you could do as an influencer. Even James Hicks and I, we did this thing where when we went to the Consumer Electronics Show
Yeah.
and we were on a mission. He was like, I'm going there because I need to meet with this brand, this brand, this brand, and this brand. And same thing. I was on a mission too, where I was like, I need to meet this person, and this person. In influencer marketing, to me, influencer marketing and content creator goes hand in hand, right? So that's how I approach this pretty much in the book. But I also do mention to brands like you could work with an influencer and put them on camera and they fall flat. Like I
Mm.
tell this story about how I did a live shopping segment, and this influencer who was really big, we had a 45-minute live shopping segment and she stopped at the 10-minute mark. And I kid you not,
Oh.
I was like, wait a second.
Oh.
I was like, we still have 45 minutes to go. And so I was giving tips to the brand as far as like, this is what you need to do beforehand before you sign a contract with an influencer. You may have to do a test run, like an audition, if you want them to be the face of your brand on camera and pitching your product.
Yeah. Okay. And
It's
because,
different from doing like a sponsored post. Sponsored post, you don't have to answer any questions, right? You could just hop in the
right.
comments. But when you're live, that's different.
I mean, I think it makes sense. It's like you have to do an interview for everything else, right?
Yes.
So why wouldn't you? You can't just take the word of someone that they are going to be great just because of their socials and their posts and their predetermined things that they say. I love
Yeah.
seeing people on camera. It's one of the reasons why even when I do and this is my little tiny show, I still am really particular about how I'm creating a brand with my show and with the guests that I bring on. So I want to know who they really are. I love meeting them in advance if I can. I'm definitely going to be watching their shows ahead of our show just in case. Right? And I'm setting them up for success. How do these brands set up influencers for success, or do they just say, hey, it's on you? Like, you figure it out,
Okay.
influencer.
I love that you asked this question because I think it works best for the influencer and the brand to both know. So, anytime you're doing any type of influencer marketing campaign, it usually starts off with what we call in the industry as a campaign brief. The campaign brief is really going to tell you, like, what is the messaging, what is the look and the feel, what's the goal of the campaign. A brand should actually give you some key talking points that will help you in your creativity of you when you're creating your content or whatever it is that you have to do, but they shouldn't dictate every single thing that you do, right? That's where I feel like most brands kind of get it wrong is they'll say like, no, Tanya, if you're going to do your show, it has to be this, it has to be, and then they've taken complete creative direction from it. And then they ask, well, why did that flop? It's like, well, because you didn't honor, you didn't
Mm-hmm.
honor the influencer and you changed everything that makes her her and unique to her audience, and so it triggered that BS radar. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Totally. And what about in terms of mistakes? So once you've, let's say this is your first thing, your first gig, and you screw it up royally, like, I just messed that up. Is there a way to fix it? Is there a
As an
way for you?
influencer?
Yeah, because you just talked about the whole blacklist thing. So if you're an influencer, if you mess up the
Oh,
first time, are you just like done?
no. Okay, so let's be on. Let me clear the air first. As a
Okay.
live streamer, we're used to improv and we're used to things going wrong, right?
Yep.
And I think as an influencer, if you are going to be a live streaming influencer, it does make sense for you to coach the brand as far as like, hey, just in case something happens, da 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 da. But oftentimes, as an influencer, I'll tell a brand, I never just do one live stream because if I talk about your product once, my audience isn't going to buy right away. Like
Right.
they kind of have to like get to know it first.
Except
Like
for this book. Go ahead.
except for this, yeah. This one I'm giving you everything. Uh, but yeah, it's like I feel like as a live streamer that works out best. Even as a content creator slash influencer, when you are working with a brand, there are checks and balances where you could say like, here's the first draft. Whenever you're doing a draft, obviously you want to have like your watermark on top of it to say it's a draft, right? And they could give you feedback for it. And then some brands that have worked with influencers will just be like, I trust you because I've done my research. I've watched your channel. I've seen what you've created. I know that your level of professionalism is up here. Or, I've heard great things about you. And I've had, brands are like, oh, I know you. I've seen
Yeah.
you. Da, 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 da. And you're like, okay, cool, 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 cool. Like, we're good.
They're like, it's Stephanie. So, of
Jake.
course, she's great. I'm going to pop up some more comments. Let's see. Large platforms like CJ, Impact, et cetera, versus private band. Who should we target as nano influencers? Oh, so should we go after the large platforms or should we go after the smaller platforms? I think that's what she's asking. What do you think?
I think you should go for, I'd say any brand that aligns with you and you're able to say, and this is why I think partnering with me would be great for your brand. So, for example, there was this one brand that I had pitched, and I said, I was served your ad, and I absolutely love it. I've always gifted it to like the other women in my family, but I noticed that none of your ad campaigns actually feature women like me. So, this is my audience, this is my niche. If you're looking for women of my demographic, I would love to partner with you. That worked out perfectly,
I like
right?
it.
It was just kind of like, hey, you might not have diversity on your marketing team. So I'm just
Yeah.
going to like give you a little insider info that you do have a market, but you don't actually have anyone talking to them. And I would be more than happy to be that person for you. Right.
Y'all, that was another nugget right there. I should put
It
up a
is. It
goal.
is true. It is true. There are, because uh, I'm very much the one where when I walk off stage, people are always like, I've never met like a spunky Filipino girl before. And I was like, oh, really? There's a lot of us. you
I
know?
bet a lot.
I was like, I've met a lot. You just might not see us a lot on social media. And
Yeah.
so this is where it's kind of nice to work with someone like that. But as far as like, should you work with a small brand or a big brand, there are differences. So a bigger brand, and I don't think most people realize this, like bigger brands and agencies, usually October, the fall of of the next upcoming year, we've already got our budgets laid out as far as
Mm.
what we want, let's say our 2025 campaign to be. So I would say October, October 2024, you should be pitching brands. You should be building these relationships. And if not sooner, let's say maybe September, because majority of their budget is going to be spent during the holidays. And
Mm.
even if you didn't start pitching people until like mid-November, you could still get some of that holiday budget. I'm like laying it all out there for you. um, Bigger brands and agencies will most likely have their budgets settled like September Q4-ish, right? But smaller brands, it's always like a test budget. And so there's a
Mm.
lot more hand holding around it because they don't know what it is that they don't know. So the better that you come prepared with your own case studies of who you've worked with, examples of the things that you've done is always very helpful. So aside from like a media kit, like everyone's heard like, oh, I have a media kit with like my audience and all that other stuff. But if you're actually as an influencer and you're creating content for clients, this is also where like UGC content creator falls under it. You should actually have a portfolio of what you've done. So I have things of how did I promote Leap Into Live? So if I want to sell tickets to your conference, this is everything that I did for Leap Into Live. I could do a talking head style video. I could do a CapCut template. I could do all these certain different things and you package it up and they're like, oh, wow, Tanya can do all this. But that person over there, that person can only do a short, get what I'm saying? Like you come
Uh-huh.
to the table like, I don't know, Happy Meal size. And they're like, you get all this. And they're like, okay, I'll work with you versus someone that's asking for one thing and a bigger price tag.
That
Something to
is so
consider.
crazy. Okay, first of all, let me make sure I turn that on. Okay. Second of all, let me do the mind blown because I'm sitting up here and I'm like, yeah, so I have a media kit and I even have a pitch deck with a few case studies. But what you just said, that is like game change. So hold on, let me pop because I know everybody. Look, it's hopping in here. So first of all,
I
let me
saw all
say,
of a sudden I saw like the comments pop up and I was like, oh, hey,
Harry, the big dog Jameson, what's up? Dope conversation, ladies. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Yo, give it away. A lot of the secret sauce. Look,
Oh, you're
y'all
gonna
better
be
be
the next
popping.
Blue Jays, trust me. Because the stuff that he and I did over at CES, like in trying to get in front of the brands, right? There was a whole strategy to it. And yeah, I think I had him on the show. And in my mind, I'm already thinking, what's the next edition going to be about, right? And where are the places that you need to be? So yeah, it's fun.
You're always ahead of the game, for real, for real. And so is James Hicks. So next time you guys go anywhere, I'm like coming.
Oh yeah, I think for James, you just have to bring like a peanut butter sandwich.
What?
Or I think he had like a bag. What was it? What was his favorite snack? I think it was like it wasn't Skittles. It was like I'll have to ask James, but we both had like our little bags of snacks to like keep us going through
Yeah,
CES.
that is hilarious. Wait, he said truth. Too big, yes. James Hicks,
Yes.
I know. Bring the package. Right, Mick said. Everybody's popping in here. He said he's smiling like a proud uncle. Let me pop that back up. That's hilarious.
That's so sweet.
But
He
yeah,
schooled me though on CES. And I think that's another thing that we talk about in the book is that collaboration is key in influencer marketing. Don't think that you ever have to work with one influencer because if you really think about it, if you were to work with one person in Ecamm Fam, guess what? You've opened the door to everyone in Ecamm Fam. You
it's
realize that,
true.
right?
It's true. It's
Like
true.
you introduced me to Cast Magic and then I was like, "Katie, Cast Magic, leap
I
into life." And Greg was like, Tanya just opened the door. And I was like, yeah, because she's an influencer. Whether you call yourself or not, you have influence. And I think it's one of those things where it's like when you know someone's standards, right?
yeah.
What they stand up for. I was like, I know she doesn't just let anyone on her
Mm-mm.
show. And I know she doesn't just buy any SaaS
Mm-mm.
software.
Mm-mm.
Like she is very rigorous, right? She will tell you. Like I remember when I asked her, I was like, "Hey, what do you think of heartbeat?" And she's like, "Hold on a second. Let me ask you a couple of questions." And I was like,
I
"Oh."
did.
I was like, "Oh." Right? And then from that just experience, I was really like, "Okay, she really vets her things." And so I kind of I I think for Greg and Cast Magic, it was like you leapfrogged off of Tanya's influence. And that's what got you in the door. So, Greg, you need to go send her some flowers or whatever, right? Because I did see Cast Magic on AppSumo and I was like, Merp, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I saw you talk about it. I was like, wait a second. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally stopped scrolling. I was like, wait, sis is talking about something. So I was like, what
Girl.
is this? And she's like, hey. And I was like, what? I was like, no
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got it. And I was like, game over. And it was just like, your shows are usually like what, 30, 45 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus a brand that usually has to send out a paid media ad 7 times to get my attention because I'm so used to banner blindness. But because you're working with an influencer or you got to leverage somebody's influence, you kind of like went through the back door where you're like, now I'm not suspicious in that
Yeah.
sense. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things to me that is so appealing about the fact that you wrote this book, that you co authored this book, because I know you to be someone who has a reputation of being honest and genuine and truthful. And because that's who I am, or at least I try my best to be at all times, that appealed to me. And I know that what you're saying in this book will just be it's just going to be an echo of the things that you talk about all the time, Stephanie. So I really am. I'm truly excited about everybody checking out the book. And it releases tomorrow, y'all. So don't forget the
Oh my
ultimate
gosh.
guide to influencer marketing. I know it's coming really fast, isn't
I'm so
it?
anxious. Now I'm just like, wow. Like this
I
day
love it.
finally came. Like I remember I was looking at all my Instagram stories since like 2021. I was like, hey, I just signed the book contract. And then there's another Instagram story where I was like, hey, I'm like, I'm putting together the outline. I was like, oh, you guys, I have to finish a chapter. Like I was pulling all my stories because I want to make like this time lapse of like, this is all the work that went into it. And it was just like, wow, it's coming into life.
It
And the number of
is.
people that I interviewed and I grilled on Lights Camera Live. Because I was very much like, okay, so wait, back up. What do you mean a nano influencer? How much would you invest in a nano influencer? And I would tell you in that interview with Indra, she was like, nothing less than $1,000, like as a starting conversation. So if you're still sitting there like, oh, maybe I'll charge 250, brands are like, nah, they're not serious.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hey, so don't walk in the door, is what you're saying with oh, $300.
No,
Don't do that.
no, don't do
Okay.
that. No.
Don't shortchange yourself, y'all. Look,
Yeah.
there's more comments in here from the club.
Oh,
First of all, he said truth, truth, truth. Harry said y'all are funny. But we're truthful, we're
it's
honest.
true. Yeah.
24-hour boss in the house. What's up? Thank you. And strict, totally agree
Strict in
with
here.
you that collaboration is key. And you're right, Stephanie, because of Ecamm, which I literally went out and bought a Mac just so that I could use it.
Yes.
Because of Ecamm, I have met so many incredible people like yourself, and we just continue to. You need the link. I need to pop up a link, but it's an Amazon link, right? Let me
It's an
see.
Amazon link. Yeah. Even if you just put in just ultimate guide to influencer marketing, you'll see it.
Here, I'm going to do
Even
that.
I'll even add about the collaboration stuff. Sometimes there are things that I don't have the bandwidth to do. And oftentimes I will kick it off to someone else. I'll be like, yo, I can't do this. I know you can do this. Are you available on these dates? Like anytime I hit up like a really good friend of mine, I'm like, hey, are you available on these dates? They're like, why? What's going on? Like it'll be like Kenya. I'm like, Kenya, what are you doing on these dates? Because so and so is going to be in town and I want to introduce you to this person, because there
Yeah.
are just some certain things where I'm like, that's not my jam or that's not my audience, but let me introduce you to someone that does know that stuff, right?
Yep.
And sometimes even within brands, you may like, let's say for example, Elgato. I am not like Luria status where I'm building out studios. However, I do talk to a lot of C-level executives that just want to look better on camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I could give them the no nonsense guide.
Like I'm popping it up
of
right there.
a no nonsense guide of like, the new Elgato series that came out. Like that might be a perfect fit for you because you don't have to worry about this and that. Like if you don't want things hanging on the ground, you could use these desk clamps. And there's just certain folks that you think would be great for your campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
my
Jillian.
fault.
Yeah, Jillian. I've thrown stuff over at Jillian too. I'm like, Jillian, I always tell my friends, if I tell clients, if you're looking for anything on the East Coast, do not ask me. Or you can ask me, but I will refer you out. I will refer you to Luria or Jillian
Yep.
or India, because I'm like, I'm not flying out to the East Coast with my gear. That makes me way too anxious.
Let me pop up James Hicks. Look, and it's my fault. I was supposed to be doing a QR code, so I'll try to do that real quick, but I'm going to pop
Yeah.
up some comments first. People pay attention to what they pay for. Brands are no
Yeah.
different. Yeah, so if you're popping up in the room with a $300 ask, then you may not be valued just based on what you put yourself out there like you're not worth the 1,000 plus.
And I'll tell you why, because when brands and agencies are working on these campaigns, they don't want to have to hunt down these influencers, right?
Yeah.
They want to know that you already have a system in place. I will tell you, Chris Stone for sure has like a run of show. He's keeping tabs, he has a CRM. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? Whereas if it was like so and so who just wants to go to like some music festival, I'm like, am I going to have to hunt you down? Like I've heard horror stories where it's like, oh, I gifted this whole entire outfit to this influencer and I'm still waiting for them to create content, right?
Mm,
It's a lot of brands are very privy to that as far as like, are you the type of person, influencer that has the work ethic,
yeah.
right? Because I'll be honest, brands and agencies don't always want to look for new influencers and new influencers. They don't want to have a revolving door around it because then it also makes their brand look very bad where it's like, oh, you're a trend hopper in that sense. You're not actually really supporting the community that Jillian supports. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. It
Yeah.
does.
East Coast love.
She
Yeah.
said, keep sending that, keep sending that love to the East Coast. I'm going to ask a question while I'm stalling to put this QR code up for
Go
you.
for it.
But here's my question. If there was a chapter in the book that you feel most proud of, can you talk about what that chapter reveals to people, to readers, so they can get excited about it?
I would say my favorite one is obviously going to be about Ecamm. And the reason for that is because Ecamm does a really good job in empowering their community. Like Ecamm is very a community led type of SaaS. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
In the sense
Totally.
that when we ask for things from Ken and Glenn, they're like, oh, okay, cool. What's your use case? And then they'll build it out. And so I talk about how when I first met Katie, she would ask me certain things about like, hey, can you do this? And then showrunner turned into a whole entire season of shows. And then I talk about how that show was repurposed into blog articles, which helps out from an SEO perspective. And then it launched into Leap into Live. There's so many different things. And I think as an influencer slash even content creator, don't think of your content as just one piece of thing. Like there's so much more you can do with it. So even as an influencer, don't think of it as, oh, I'm just creating a short form video. That short form video could be, well, I could sit with you in a 45-minute webinar, boop, in
Look,
a
I put it all over
45-minute
her face.
webinar, right? It's like, where is it? Oh, there it is.
There it is. It's there.
It's like a Pokemon. Uh, but yeah, that probably has to be my favorite chapter, just to talk about how as an influencer, as a brand working with an influencer, if you can work with an influencer that knows how to keep a campaign alive longer than just one launch day,
Yeah.
right? Then that's a strategic partnership that I as a brand would always want to have because they're true to their brand and they're always someone that I could work with in the long run. Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to pop this up in another scene. Hold on. Because people are like, wait, where's the link? Where's the link? That's my fault, y'all. I dropped the ball a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good.
See what I said? When you mess up, do you get like a pass? There's
But
my
you know, it's
pass.
like but that's what I love about live streaming, especially with Ecamm too, you know?
Me too. Ecamm makes it so easy.
So
Oh
easy.
my goodness. Harry said, dropping mad nuggets.
I'm
Yes,
telling
yes,
you.
yes. Oh
I'm telling
yeah.
you.
Jill was over on Facebook. Yeah, girl, this is where the party is. It usually is on YouTube for my channel. So thank you for dropping over here.
Yay!
Oh
Yeah,
wait.
Ecamm fan for the win.
Hicks said he bought the video. I know. After hearing her speak, I think that was one of my first things too that I bought
Video
from
script
you.
maker. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love the video script maker. I still use video script maker. I know that there's chat GPT and all that other stuff, but I like me on the back end, I still add my hooks and all these different things in there because chat GPT only goes up to a certain time frame.
Yep.
Whereas hooks and storytelling is always changing and what's trending on
Mm-hmm.
social. And so I think it was maybe a couple months ago, maybe like last fall, where I hit everyone up and I said, hey, version 2.0 is out. And I just added more stuff in there. Yeah. And even that, when I do live production for clients, I give that to them as like a freebie, as like, this is something that I created. And so
Yeah.
the price goes up in that sense. When you're creating
Yeah.
your own stuff, yeah.
I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
something that I haven't said to you before, but I'm going to say it right now and just give you your flowers today. I seriously, I'm going to give you some flowers real quick here. I have been inspired by you to stop playing small with some of the things that I've done in the past. Like, there's a lot that I do behind the scenes. There's a lot I do inside my paid community that I haven't really talked about, like out in public, because I wonder, like, are people going to pick that apart? Maybe somebody else is doing it. And what I'm realizing is that, to your point about creating the video script maker, there's a lot of things, because I see us being a lot alike in some ways. There's a lot of things technically that I can do that I didn't realize nobody else knows how to do that. And so
Yeah.
now I've started being more public with some of the skills. And that's what led me when I spoke at Leap to talk about my chat bot. Yeah. Because I was like, I might as well just share it and just tell people, like, this is a thing. Like, this is something that I've created for my community. And so I'm going to put it out there. Now, it was only free for a minute,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
may be locked down soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things, even as an influencer, content creator, when you test something out and you are your own case study, it's nice again where Tanya has her own community and it's like a private beta test. So she's smart. She's doing some awesome things. And who always gets first dibs? Her community.
Yeah.
So and they always get like the beta price, right? Or they
Always.
get it for free or something. But yeah, but that's an opportunity where when you find an influencer and you know that they're building a community, that's where they beta test stuff. A lot of brands want to be a part of that too because they want to grow with you
Yeah.
and your community. Yeah.
Yeah. And because of it, it's creating some other opportunities that I hadn't seen coming up before. So I love this whole topic of nano influencers. It's not just about you having 10,000 or 100,000 followers or fans, but it is about you being consistent. It is about you showcasing your skills. I love that you talk about putting together the whole package, like not just a media kit. Although you need to, if you don't have one, y'all, you probably need to have one.
Yeah.
At least start with that. But I love everything that you've talked about. If there was one more thing, because I know you can't be with me all night, although I would love to just sit here and talk all night. But if there's one thing that you think would be a reason that people should pick up the book, can you share that?
Absolutely. I think if you are the type of person where you have a message and you have a purpose and you want to build a community around it, it is possible for you to fund that dream and that purpose by partnering with a brand that aligns with that. And so the book will really walk you through as far as like how to have those conversations with the brand and how to package it up and really just be like, look, I'm not looking for someone just to throw money at me. I want someone that grows with my community. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
even with Leap into Live, Katie and I were very much like, we don't just want any brand to be a part of Leap into Live. We want actual brands that will show up to the event. And when you go to Leap into Live, you're like, hey, Sure is here and so is here, right? Speedify is here. And that made it like a really great partnership to have. And so I would definitely think the Ultimate Guide to Influencer Marketing helps you as an influencer, a rising influencer, on kind of like what to expect in the industry. And eventually, sooner or later enough, you may become your own business and maybe you want to have influencers helping you promote your community or your book and such. And so, how do you work out that relationship? All of that is in there for you and really helping you understand what's the ROI, right? What's your return on investment? Because one thing that most people don't realize is that some influencers aren't always looking for money, they're just looking for access to your
Yeah.
connections.
Yeah. I'm going to pull up my favorite quote so far. When you work with influencers who share the same values as your brand and your target customers, you can increase engagement, brand recognition, and most importantly, sales. And to me, that stood out as like the ultimate quote because it really, for me, it showcased this is what this book is teaching you. It's telling you that you really need to identify brands that operate with values that are similar to yours, not just be out there kind of like, whoever wants to, hire me, right?
Yeah.
But that you need to be intentional about the match and that it can do all these things for you. And I love that about the book. And I love that about hearing how you came about the idea of putting the book together. I didn't ask you this one question before we go. So, Eric,
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about Eric?
Oh,
Because I
Eric
don't
is
have him
this.
on the show. So,
Let me tell you, Eric is one of the most distinguished writers that I know. He's written like over 40 books. Like he does this for a living. And he's taught me so much. I kind of view him as my mentor in this whole book writing process. This is the second book that I've co authored with him before. And if you ever want to write a book, I'll share with you the template that he has because he said that it would be okay. But he puts together this really well researched book proposal that says, hey, if you want to write a book about X, and he goes through this whole entire process where he analyzes what other books are out there, how it's framed, who it targets, the year it was published. So you could see like, oh, well, yeah, I know that book is number one, but that book was published 6 years ago. So much has happened in the last 6 years, especially with AI. And so that is the book proposal, and then it goes out. Other things that I learned from him too is how to format a book, right? Like, because when you look at this book over here, there's like call outs, there's tips, and there's all these different things. And he was very much like, Stephanie, if we're going to mention a study, research, we have to cite it. And I was like, oh, this brings me back to my college days. And he was just very, very particular about certain things. But yeah, he's very well versed. He writes a ton of books. He's written Instagram for Dummies. Like he knows his stuff.
I
Yeah,
was
he knows his
wondering
stuff.
about that because, yeah, he seems like a really cool guy just from checking out everything. So, folks, if you're looking at the book, take a look at the book on Amazon. You're going to want to look it up. Let me put my QR code. Look, I'm
What's
right
there
over
to
Stephanie's head. so you can't miss it. That's why I intentionally did that. But there's the
Yeah.
QR code. So make sure you go and grab it, pre-order it, and it's releasing tomorrow, which is crazy. That's
Yeah.
nuts. It's releasing tomorrow. Let me get a
Yeah.
few more comments before we wrap because I have to let her go, y'all. I can't keep her here
I know my
all
little one's like,
night.
Mom.
Emma's like, come on, come take a piece of this fancy thing that I just made because I know she made something for you. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. Roy, you're right.
It's funny because like you'll even see in the industry influencers sometimes want to be called content creators. And I always make the distinction that you could be an influencer, like celebrity influencer, but you don't know how to create content.
Yeah.
You could be a content creator, but you don't have to be a person of influence. Like there are a couple of clients of mine where I just create content and I'm not the face on camera, right? Ah, Thank you,
Miss
sis.
Jill.
You're amazing.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Congrats on the book. Proud of you.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
thank
Hicks.
you.
Let me see. Had your great stuff. Can't wait to get the book. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
go and grab the book. Harry,
I'm
the
even in
big
like
dog.
I'm inspired by that name too, because I'm like, who you working with? Like, what's going on there?
Girl,
Aging with
that's
grace.
she is amazing. She's an Instagram influencer. You need to check her out. She is my
Okay.
BFF, my child's godmother. Yes. She's amazing. She's the person that first got me out doing photo shoots because I was not a photo shoot person.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it's for women over 50. Yep.
I love it.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
And that's something to add too, is that when you think of influencers, influencers just aren't Gen Z, right? There are mommy influencers, there are B2B influencers, there's B2C. You just have to find the right brand that you're interested in, and it makes it work out. Like even Ecamm has like sub niches, right? There's
Yeah.
churches, there's podcasters, there's live shopping. Yeah.
Uh,
Yay. Hey, Robin.
Miss Jill said Creator Camp 2024.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're coming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, you
Why
better
would I
come.
not come? Why would I not come? Everybody else who's watching, if you're not coming, you need to get on the bandwagon.
You
Go to
you
the
need to get
ECAM
on those
community.
tickets like right now.
Because if you don't, I think they might almost be close to the max here soon.
That is very true.
Well, thank you again, Stephanie. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love just anything you are at. I'm like trying to see how can I listen in because I know she's going to drop some nuggets. There's going to be something in there that I need to hear that's going to be just that trigger for me to do take action in a different way. So, thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much and just like allowing me to be in this space with you and your community, right?
Of
Because
course.
otherwise I wouldn't have that opportunity. So I thank you so much for taking the time and just always being so super supportive. I remember the first time I met you like in person at Creator Camp, I was like, she's cool. She's hanging out with Kirk. I was like, Kirk, who's that? She's so cool, calm, collected. I'm intimidated. Who is that?
Whatever. Not even. I just play that on TV.
No,
I'm
you're
just an
good.
introvert.
Yeah. And I will say this to anyone that does get the book or even wants to learn more about influencer marketing, feel free to reach out. Tanya will tell you I'm the type of person where like if you reach out to me in my DMs and ask me a question, I will geek out with you.
She will.
I would be like, hey, why not just that? Why don't you do all of this? Right? Like Tanya, I'm already like, tell me more about this chatbot.
I
Let
know,
me
right?
I want to know all the things. And I also want to introduce you to my other girlfriend, Kelly Noble Mirabella, who's like the COO of Chatbot Builder. It's an AI chatbot. I don't know if you've
What?
heard of that one. Okay, see, that's happening. That's happening.
Okay, we need to make that happen because somebody put in the chat, Gail. That's the name of my bot. Her name is Gail,
Oh,
and she's a
okay.
live stream marketing bot. And then I shared prompts on how to actually use these prompts to create a 90-day live stream calendar. So,
Okay.
okay, so we're talking. Okay.
Retire. Yeah, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen. You wait, you see. Good, good, good.
All right, y'all. I see Creator Camp a couple of times in here. So, yes, reminder about Creator Camp, Ecamm Fam. But even if you're not in the Ecamm Fam, you can still benefit from this book. So, I hope that you will take the time to go and scoop it up. I'm going to go ahead and take us on out real quick here, Ms. Stephanie. And let me pop this up again. Stephanie Garcia was our guest for tonight. So, if you have not yet thought about working with you probably are a nano influencer. So if you haven't thought about working with brands as an influencer, even one with a smaller audience, then all the tips that you've heard tonight are going to be for you. And the tips that you'll find in that book are going to be invaluable. So definitely pick it up. You can order it now and it releases tomorrow. It's been my pleasure to talk with all of you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for hanging out with me and Stephanie. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you on Thursday when we're going to have the amazing cast ahead Chris Stone on to talk about podcasting and all things that he knows, which is a bunch. So be ready. Okay, guys, I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks again and take care and good night.